very good question. For me now, it's a whole new open door. I'm learning about Islam in a way that gives me a chance to get rid of some of the myths I've been taught. And if I may, there's a book I'd like to refer to, and it's called Islam in the West. And the subtitle is The Making of an Image. And it's written by a British professor who's been involved in the Arabic world for some 25 or 30 years. And he has a specialty in medieval history and contemporary Islamic thought and world. And he's pointed out that in the 1300s, the 14th century, Europe, with all the kings, and the church, the Christian church at Rome, were in decline. And at the same time, Muslims were going across North Africa and into Spain and building these wonderful architectural, the mosques, the buildings, all the science that went on that time was building these wonderful pieces of engineering. So on the one hand, you have Europe and the church in Europe going down, and this Islamic science coming in and going up, and bringing that into Spain, and building all these wonderful designs in Spain. So, and this is very, very important. Norman David, who wrote this book, which I have here, pointed out that the kings of Europe and the popes needed to do something to discredit the Muslims. Here they were introducing sciences and the theology, and they were bringing Aristotle back into Europe. They preserved all these Greek writings, and they're bringing these with them. And so the church and these kings didn't like that, so they had to put Islam down. They had to discredit Islam. They had to put it in this bad light in order to make themselves look better. They were looking very, very bad. And they had to say, Islam is dangerous. Discredit. So how do they do it? Among other things, I won't go through all of this, but they would say that, and they did, that Muhammad was a pedophile because he married a girl age 13. Muhammad was a warrior. He led armies into battle. And he advocated, therefore, violence. And third, excuse me, how could, I'm sorry, it's not very good for TV, I'm sorry. How could God reveal to this man at age 40 the truth of God when he lived in idolatry for 40 years? I mean, how could that be? But God wouldn't pick a person who lived in idolatry for 40 years for a revelation. Well, there are three right there. And there are many other myths that were taught back in the 1300s, the 14th century. And these myths are continuing to this very, very, very day. And they started way back there. And then it dawned on me as I was reading his work that those are the very things that I've been exposed to. Those are things I've been taught in one way or another, through the newspaper or my courses or the other forms of media, that this whole Islamic way is not to be trusted. It is not as good as Christianity. And so just ignore it. And pretty much that's the way it's been. The West has ignored the whole story of Islam and the teachings of the Prophet and this whole flow of rich knowledge that came from the Prophet. Just ignore it. And call it names.
Bakış olsun anlatabilir miyiz? Politik bir bakış bu yani.